Okay, welcome. I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is assignment for request for council action. We have 2016 budget amendments, 2017 transfer request, MCRC capital contribution, 2018 expenditure over 15,000, T-Siegel Consulting Bicentennial, 2019 expenditure over 15,000, Technology Engineering Group for the IT, 2020 fiscal year 18 CHIP Rehab 533 South Broadway, 2021 RFQ RFP CHIP CDBG Program Grant Consultant, 2022 Combined Court Project Construction Manager at Risk Fees, 2023 Amend Ordinance 19619 Purchase Agreement with County Park District, 2024 Purchase Ventrac 4500P and Approved Trade-In for the Parks, 2025 Memo of Understanding City of Medina Railway, and 2026 bids for the 2020 concrete street repair. First one we have, second one is 2016 budget amendments. We have 2020-001, our first one, various projects. Keith?
The first two are that Bicentennial and sale of coloring books, and then a donation received from the Willard Stevenson Foundation. The next two have to do with the remarking of the airfield, and then the last two are patch projects. One is for the South Broadway reconstruction, additional appropriation because they added in the sewers, if you remember, and then the bridge, and I'm not sure what that's for, but we need to know what the bridge.
Patrick? What's the bridge?
Pardon me?
The bridge?
What's the increase on the bridge?
The $18,000 increase on the bridge.
On the bridge?
Yeah, it says
South Elmwood Bridge.
South Elmwood Bridge.
It's on the budget amendment.
There wasn't an increase.
We may have just been short and needed.
Oh, this is just a final payment.
Our final payment amount's gonna be below the contract value,
Okay,
so there's no extras.
no extras. I like to hear that.
Then why are we increasing the appropriation if there's no extra?
I don't know, I didn't put this in.
We may not have had enough on the initial appropriation. We're putting it through because we need the money to make the payment, so I know there's not enough there, I'm not sure why.
But it's below the contract amount.
Correct, yeah.
So as long as we double check that it's still below the contract amount,
We will.
we can do it.
Yeah.
I get it, you have to pay the bill, but double check to make sure it's still below the contract amount. And then the rest of it, when do we normally do the terminating the POs and putting it all back into 108? You know, the ones that are all
Once the
extra.
project's closed,
Once the project's closed, okay.
then Pat likes to hang on to it for.
But they still have a few things, don't they, Pat?
They do, they have a punch list going that, it's not much, but some things they'll probably have to wait to do in the spring. We plan on, at least just from the final payment, middle of February. The grant, this is covered by the grant, and they want us, they're pressuring us to get it closed as quickly as possible.
Questions, other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, 2017 transfer request for the MCRC capital contribution.
The agreement calls for this annual contribution that we in the school each make, and then keeping our own funds pay for capital items that Direct Center would do.
Do you, Mike or Keith, do you have the balance on it? I know we just did the roof. That was
Yeah, cash balance was $145. We had everything in a PO because of the roof project.
Right.
So sooner we get $100,000 in there, the better.
so $145 balance.
That's it.
You replace 3 names.
Is that good planning, or I don't know what that is?
Sure, yeah.
Buy some salt from the sidewalks.
All right.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2018 expenditure of 15 to T-Siegel Consulting for the Bicentennial. Mayor?
So the Stevenson Foundation, which Mr. Shields and I both serve on, agreed to fund this, and Thomas Siegel from Siegel Press had fronted the money for these Hometown America's Bicentennial books, and I think the city received the Stevenson Foundation, and then now we need to pay Thomas Siegel.
Okay. Questions?
Just one note, Stevenson is spelled wrong in this one.
I have a question.
Yeah, I see that.
Are those books done?
They're in process.
Are they? Okay. Yeah, that's an exciting thing, because, you know,
They're supposed to be out in March or April.
okay.
All right, any other questions?
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2019, expenditure over 15,000 to Technology Engineering Group from the IT. Who's this, started?
So the city has 16 network core switches. Currently, they're 8+ years old and they're end of life. We're told by Enterasys they're end of life. So we started doing some research late last year to see what it would cost to get us up to speed, along with our wireless access points. The city has 12 of those. And latest prices we would find were somewhere between $73,000 and $76,000 to do it all. So there's a heavy load on the front. We did it 8 years ago. It was probably a little bit less than that, but we ran it to end of life because of the expense. Long story short, we did some digging, and North Canton City Schools has the exact equipment that I was pricing out. They have 12 of the 14 devices that we need, and they're lightly used, and we can get all of those for $1,800 plus licensing. So the long story short is, we can spend about $25,000 to do a $75,000 project to cover all brand-new APs, which are the wireless access points. We can put 2 brand-new head-in switches that they don't have in our main server room, so those are good for the next 5 to 8 years. And then we buy these gently used ones. They're Cisco Meraki equipment, which is consistent with what Medina Schools, our partner, uses, in place of these ones that we need to upgrade. So our net savings is somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000 to $45,000 going this direction. Now, the question you may ask is, well, what about used gear? People right away go down that road. So our current switches are 8+ years old. One of the things, the phenomena that I've learned over the years of doing this and working with other network administrators is network switches don't really go bad. They just kind of run. If there's any good piece of hardware in a network, those seem to be it. So based on my training, my knowledge of how this stuff works, and the fact that our partner at the schools has 10 more spare of these sitting on the rack, the exact ones that we would be putting in place. These ones that we would buy gently used don't have an end of life, we're told, from Cisco Meraki for the next 4 years. So for $150 a switch versus, for some we're talking between $2,500 and $4,000 a switch, I think it behooves us not to go down this avenue, save the money up front, and then we can work towards, if we want to try to put a rotation in. I know Councilman Rose would like to see that. My only struggles with this last project were that, and they don't break, so I have a hard time separating from the fact that they're still running and spending money. So I'm like, so we're at 8 years, and I'll be frank with you, I probably wouldn't even be doing this upgrade and replacement had Enterasys told me that end of life wasn't here. But they're going to stop supporting them, and once they do that, you've got to move on.
So 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna just switch them out, no pun intended, when they break and then put them in, or are you just gonna take them out even though they're still working?
No, sir, yeah, we're going to take all the working Enterasys ones out because they're end of life.
Well, I don't understand what that means. if
What
they're
that
still
means is
working.
they won't support
Not
it.
support.
So if something goes wrong with them, and we call Enterasys for support, they go, sorry.
Well, if something goes wrong, then wouldn't you just take the other one you just bought and switch it?
Well, I mean, you could go that direction, but at this point, we would be better off just influxing all the same equipment, the same gear that we're paying support, because part of that is you're paying a yearly support. That was the other thing, on those 12 switches, we would do a yearly support fee, so that if anything were to go awry within that year, to give you an idea on the support fee, it's $150 a switch. So it's not very expensive for basically the year, times 12, it's $1,700 a year. So it makes sense for us to pay the $1,750, put these switches in, and then we've got the backbone of support, because we're dealing with, the thing that makes these switches critical to our environment are, moving the data from computers and servers, but more importantly, the phones. So our phone system is a hybrid of the voice over IP. So it gets these phones on these desks here in the fire department, service garage, and they're all included, this including the rec center. They get their electricity to those phones from these switches. There's no separate plug where you plug these phones and it comes across an Ethernet cable. So it is a crucial piece for, not aside from the data, but from the phone piece.
And one thing that I have to support, Darren's want to replace these now, it's better to replace them scheduled and planned than, oh, it's broke, now what do we do? Okay, then we gotta go fix it, it goes much more smoothly.
And I'm trying to find that balance, right?
Right.
Because it's one of those things where we can get probably 10 years out of these if they don't go end of life. And the beauty of our environment with the city schools is that we're trying to keep all the gear the same, uniform, so we can back each other up. They've got an influx of 10 of them sitting over there, so if we have a no-shucks factor with one of these, we're in the game. I call the team, we bring it over.
Now,
we
what,
put it in.
North Canton, why are they getting rid of it?
So we, through our partner with the schools, TDGOH works for North Canton City Schools, and they do their networking schema. And they knew of their network guy that had made a move from these switches to a different brands of switch, and that he had these, and it's similar to us, when these things go to auction, they're worth nothing to the cities and the schools, and this is as good as auction at $150 a piece when you're dealing with anywhere from, like I said, $2,900 to $4,000 for these switches a piece.
The only question I have, Darren, I don't see the request for an emergency clause. Do you need an emergency clause?
No, again, I think we're safe. Like I said, our switches are running. I just
Okay.
know they're telling me end of life, and I haven't had a problem, so I don't want to push that envelope. I think we're gonna be fine. We did the switches, the cost of the switches to North Canton separate, so the switches will come. The only thing that we wouldn't get implemented right away, because it's not an emergency clause, it's a support. I don't expect there to be a support issue. I expect these to go in and be up and running pretty much as soon as we can.
But when we do get the support for these, that would include replacement in kind, should one of these go that bad that we have to have it replaced,
With
correct?
these used ones, you don't get the replacement. For the $150, you don't get the replacement. The two new bread and butter ones that have a 5-year, those are like kind and replacement. So as these cycle out over the next 4 years, the ones that get replaced, that we're gonna have to pay obviously a lot more money for, yes, you get kind of like a replacement. I just feel that this is a large window, like 4 to 5 year window, that saves us $43,000, that, based on my education, what I'm seeing and talking to other network administrators, and I know this brand, Cisco's top of the world, Cisco Meraki. It was almost a pass up, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Motion.
Who to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2020 fiscal year 18 CHIP Rehab 533 South Broadway. Jonathan?
Thank you. As you said, this is a CHIP private rehabilitation project at 533 South Broadway here in the city of Medina. The project is just a shy of $33,000. We would like to request a PO for $33,000 just to cover unforeseen change orders. The emergency clause is requested because there's a limited number of contractors for CHIP projects, and the sooner they get paid, the sooner they have the capital to continue bidding on CHIP projects. Thank you.
Questions?
Who to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2021 RFQ, RFP CHIP CDBG Program Grant Consultant. Jonathan?
Yes. As the RCA says, this is moving into the next cycle for CHIP and CDBG grant applications through the state of Ohio. We have to basically pick a consultant to be able to have one for the next cycle. We're currently in the midst of our allocation grant, but the next cycle for CHIP is coming up this spring for application. So we have to pick a consultant, which is the first step, and as we go through, we do a number of publications and public meetings and everything, and we have to do public meetings in Brunswick and Medina. I've talked to Brunswick about them partnering with us again for another round of CHIP, and they tentatively said yes, so we're gonna, Sandy, my department's gonna work with Grant Ox up at Brunswick to coordinate that, so that, you know, their council and our council update a partnership agreement, but we still need to get this process going as the city of Medina being the grantee and fiscal agent. We do the kind of all the backbone procedural stuff. So we just recommend that we move this along. The emergency clause is requested so that we can stay on the schedule for the May 20th, 2020 application for CHIP, which is the due date. Thank you.
Questions?
Who to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2022 is a combined court project with the construction manager at risk fees. I saw this come on the agenda, and I talked to Kathy about it, and I spoke with the mayor about it on Friday, when I saw the mayor. I think that we just needed to get an update as a council of what's going on at the county, so we know what we're getting into. So there's meetings scheduled, I think an email went out and everybody said that they could make it a meeting scheduled for February 4th at 4 o'clock here. And the commissioners are gonna be here, the architect's gonna be here, and they're going to tell us where the project is and what's happening, so we kind of get a feel for what has changed, what hasn't changed. The last that we've heard as a group was the addition in the county court moving and redoing the building and all this stuff, and it's changed now, so we need to get an update, and I think is that correct, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Is that where we are?
Yep.
So I think on Tuesday, we'll find out what we have, what's going on, so we can get a better feel of what we're doing, how we're involved, and where the project is. And I don't think we have that information at this point. Everybody okay with that?
Just one clarification, the Branstetter and Carroll's gonna be here on February 4th for a noon meeting already, but I'm not sure that it's been confirmed yet that they can make it 4 o'clock.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll attend a new meeting to find out, I know I missed the last one, just so we, I think the project's moving along at the county, but we want to make sure that what is it, and how are we, the city, involved in it? So we'll get that information.
It would probably be helpful, it would probably be good, you'll check and see if the architect can, see if they could be here, it'd be helpful.
Yeah, our preference would be, and that's what we're thinking, because they're gonna be here at 1 o'clock, it's 3 hours later, we can
Yeah.
go get a sandwich and come back.
Yeah.
But, I don't know what they've got scheduled either. So, and this is like a week away, it's not like a month.
Next week.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
next Tuesday.
A week from
Next
tomorrow,
Tuesday.
yes, sir.
Week from tomorrow. All right?
Mayor,
So
just
I don't know if everybody
proposal-
can make it, but that'll be a good thing if you can make it. You can't make it?
No, I'll be in Iowa.
Iowa.
It's been through the caucus.
Maybe take my journals or students out.
I'll take a drill.
You didn't know that, John?
Let me shoot. I remember him saying that.
Or the nice article.
I wanted to test him again to see if he was sure going.
He's not the one you have to test from memory.
Mr. Huber had a comment.
Mr. Hubert?
Is this, I wasn't sure, if this proposal involves Gilbane, construction manager? Is this a contract we're entering into with Gilbane, or are we entering into a contract with the county? I wasn't clear on that.
Well, when we did the first agreement with Branstetter Carroll, it was for the planning, design, and pre-construction
Right.
work. And Scott Miller's interpretation, if yours is different, then we can do it different. His interpretation was that included the work of the construction manager at risk in the agreement that we've already signed with the county. If you think we need a separate one that specifically names Gilbane, then we'll defer to that.
And we've also spoken with the county, and I think we're still working on, we don't know the percentage of our involvement in the project yet. We picked 25% at the beginning because that's what we thought it was. I mean, the latest drawing that we had before, we were 16%. So that begs the question, when it gets done, what percentage are we? And my opinion is we should pay that percentage of what we are.
Well, according to what Ms. Walker's telling me, we're getting the old courthouse and that's it. So,
Well, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know, I haven't talked to, I don't know. We have no idea.
But I think that's the reason that we wanted to schedule the meeting with the commissioners so that we can sit down face to face and have that discussion, because it's a complicated, it appears to be complicated, and it would be a good way to try to address the questions that we have, because both parties would then be speaking to each other. That's probably the best way we're gonna resolve it, rather than us having a conversation here and then waiting to hear in the county, and then we don't seem to get together. I think we
Right.
need to be like people used to be in town.
I don't know if a
Just
decision
get
really-
together and have the talk.
Right, I don't think a decision has been made, because we started out with a whole different design of a building, then it moved to a different design of a building, and that was final, and now we're in another design of building, and they're saying that's final. I don't think a decision's been made, because it keeps changing. So until we know what's going on, I mean, that's when we make our decision as a city of our involvement. We have to know what's going on in order to make a informed decision of how we're involved.
Right, and so to get into it now would not serve a purpose. I mean, it's better.
That's
for us
right. That's why you gotta wait to
have
find
a good
out.
conversation on Tuesday and find out, because we
That's
don't
what-
know where we're at.
That's what
the
Ray and I
mayor's
spoke about, it,
arrangement, right.
and it was a great idea to have the joint meeting as soon as possible. And if Branstetter could be there, that's even better, because we can ask questions, because they're the ones involved in figuring out how this all works. And they can say, well, did you think about this? Where are we at? Why'd you think about that? We can ask those type of questions. So, Mr.
John, there's
Huber,
some comments over here.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Huber?
Yes, I'm trying to figure out whether we're actually contracting with the county on this. And that's it. Scott was correct. I'll figure that out shortly.
Okay. Yes.
One aspect of this is that at the moment, the county does not have a contract with Gilbane Building Company.
Okay.
It may be on their agenda tomorrow, I don't know, I won't find out until tomorrow, but right now, they have not signed a contract with Gilbane.
But they selected them tentatively?
Who they've recommended.
That's who they recommend, okay. So, all right. Mr. Sheets, you have an additional
John,
comment?
just a caveat, and I didn't hear what the mayor said, but
Oh.
there is a meeting at 12 o'clock with the commissioners and the architects that the presentation's going to be made, because that's the steering committee. So if any of you can't be at a 4 o'clock meeting, that would be a good place to get the information also,
And
the
that's on-
same day.
Same day, yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's why I think that's why we scheduled it the same day,
No, I
because the
assume.
architect will be there, yes. Yes, so that would be helpful, yes. Okay. So, I know we have some retired people up here.
The steering committee meeting is the 4th?
The 4th also, at noon. At the commissioner's office.
Balcony B,
Balcony B,
I believe.
I believe.
Yes.
Balcony B, yes.
You're gonna be there.
I'm gonna be there,
Yeah,
yes.
probably.
You'll be there, okay. All right, any other questions on council? So everybody mark their calendars. All right. Next one we have is 2023, amend ordinance 19619, the purchase agreement with the county park district. So who's doing this? Jansen, Mayor?
Mayor has the information on this.
Mayor, you're up.
Thanks. Trying to catch up to you.
Okay.
And send emails that you just requested. So, what happened is we purchased the 3 acres at $9,000 an acre for $27,000. And we put $500 in for what was anticipated to be closing costs and surveys and all of that. And it turns out it's gonna come in a little bit above that. So we're asking to increase those fees that we agreed contractually to split with county parks by $2,000 to cover whatever the remaining fees are.
Understood. Questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2024 purchase of a Ventrac 4500P and approved trade-in for the parks. Jansen, is this you?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This request and purchase was identified through the 2020 budgeting process. Our compact tractor, which is made by Ventrac, it's, as you can see on the request there, is purchased in 2007. It's probably our most frequently used piece of equipment in parks. It's used for snow plowing, soil preparation, overseeding, aeration. It gets used quite frequently. We have a number of implements for it. So we're looking to purchase a new one through Sourcewell, which is formerly the National Joint Powers Alliance contract. We purchased equipment through this before. And when looking at the expense of the purchase on that contract, we identified a trade-in of the existing unit as well as a Toro lawnmower that has only been used for snow plowing the last couple of years. So we're requesting to trade both of those in and apply it towards the purchase, which will actually make the purchase total $15,000, but the contract price is $26,535.51.
Okay. Questions?
I do have one question. Jensen, this one piece that we're going to acquire is going to replace both, do the same functions as both these pieces of equipment?
No, the Toro 3280, which is a combination lawnmower snowplow, does not get used in our mowing fleet any longer. We switched everything over to zero steers and fleeted them up so that all the mowers are the same. They all have interchangeable parts.
Okay.
And this is one of our last smaller Toro mowers in the fleet, and it just doesn't get used.
Okay, all right, thank you. Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2025 MOU, City of Medina Railway. Patrick?
Thank you. In July of 2018, we passed a new MOU with our three partners in the city railroad. As part of that MOU, it was stipulated that we would not charge any of the partners an access fee for the years 2018 and 2019. Reason being, our account balance was sufficient enough. We didn't feel like we needed to receive that additional money. We looked at it again at the end of last year, and we believe we can go another year without those access fees. Now, they still pay the user fee, the rail car fee, but we had been charging, I think it was $7,500. It was $10,000. We dropped that down, but we're not going to implement that annual access fee for any of the users for another year. Mr. Huber felt we needed to modify the MOU to reflect that. So this request is to insert a paragraph replacing the existing one that basically says we're going to waive those fees for 2020.
The question, you have an emergency clause in circle, is that correct?
Yeah, I just saw that. No, we don't need that.
Okay, because that was from July, and I was wondering.
That was for a different.
That's, okay. No emergency clause. Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And 2026 bids for the 2020 concrete street repair job number 1067. Patrick?
This is our annual concrete street repair program. This year, we're requesting $500,000. That's up $100,000 from previous years. We felt with the new gas tax allocation, which nets us $400,000 or $500,000 a year, we could increase this and do a little bit more work.
So more barrels.
Pardon me?
More barrels around the city?
More barrels.
All right. Is this total replacement, or is this?
No, this is our spot repair.
Okay.
And we're kind of putting an emphasis, this is much earlier than we usually request this, but we'd like to get it done this year before school starts.
Mayor?
During the summer break, that's what I was gonna announce.
Okay.
You know, people get frustrated if we do it in August or September when school was out, June through the middle of August. So what we're trying to do is coordinate with the contractor to try to get the work done when we're not trying to juggle school buses and.
Substitute.
Yes.
Other
Thanks,
questions?
Patrick.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we have an executive session. Mr. Shields?
Make a motion to go into executive session at 6:32 PM for two purposes. The first is consider conference with the law director of the city concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject to pending or imminent court action. And the second is for preparing, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation and other terms and conditions of employment, to include the mayor, the law director, and Mr. Coley.
Second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Lamb?
Yes.
Hazelton? Shields?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Simpson?
Abstain.
Rose?
Yes.
And Hefter?
Yes.
Sorry.
We'll be recessing into executive session to discuss those items that Mr. Shields mentioned. We'll be reconvening into finance after we recess out of the executive session, taking no action on the items we are discussing in executive session, and then we will adjourn finance. With that said, we are in recess. Where are we going? Here or upstairs?
It's up to you.
Is it easier upstairs? We'll go upstairs, because we're gonna go upstairs anyways.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We come back down.
No, do it.